During the Giants' 24-10 victory in Buffalo, linebacker Preston Brown was penalized for unsportsmanlike conduct for scuffling with Giants players following an Eli Manning fumble. Brown told the Buffalo News on Tuesday that Odell Beckham struck him when Brown was trying to defend teammate Nigel Bradham. Quote, "That's what he does. He'll get away with it. He's the golden boy of the league. He's on the cover of Madden. Sometimes you get away with stuff like that." The coach, Herm Edwards, is in the house. Appreciate you being here with us. Always good to see you.
Welcome back.
It's Odell Beckham Jr.?
Yes.
You're wide receiver, right?
Yes.
Oh.
ODB.
Okay.
Skip.
Wait, you got a problem with this?
Football must have changed or something. Yeah, it's changed a lot.
So the DB should have retaliated against him? Oh, yeah.
Legally, too.
Yeah, okay.
You can do it legally.
Well, you can. Yeah. And I think some have been trying this year. All right.
What do you make of this whole situation?
Thank you. Little perspective here.
Yeah.
This is just 2 cents worth of my thoughts on this from a distance. I think this young man has entered a little bit of a danger zone early in his NFL career. He's had maybe borderline too much too soon given to him. Obviously, as was just pointed out, cover Madden, number of national TV commercials already. Much of it off one catch that we all agreed, greatest catch I ever saw.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make cases for a few others, but boy, it was up there. And it came in a home game on Monday Night Football, the biggest stage in the sport, in which his team lost to my Dallas Cowboys, just for the perspective of this. But all anybody wanted to talk about the next day was that catch. And it rocket launched him in the city of New York. And you know, you've coached there. Yep. Boy, there's no, it's the media capital of the world. There's no greater place to pull off that kind of play at that kind of moment than that city. And he capitalized in the offseason as he should have. But there's a lot of jealousy and resentment out there that he has generated. And one thing did catch my ear last year, and I hope Ryan Clark doesn't mind me bringing this up, but Ryan Clark played against him, obviously, I think only one time last year, if memory serves, because I think he was hurt the other game. Ryan obviously playing for the Redskins. Yeah. Remember, Ryan went to LSU, and this is his LSU brother, Odell Beckham Jr. He loves Odell Beckham Jr., but he was a little surprised because he said Odell on the field just talks trash like crazy, like he's really just spewing trash the whole game. It appears to me it's the way he fuels himself, is to talk. But you're going to pay some price because they're not only going to talk back, but they're going to go back at you a little harder and a little harder. And there have been several incidents already this year in which he said the DBs are coming at him, maybe a little late, maybe a little too much, maybe a little over the edge. Well, it's who you are and the stage that you now find yourself on. So I'm just throwing my 2 cents out there. I'm not surprised by this, and I don't think we've heard the end of this because he's a young man with huge acclaim, huge future, and a whole lot of people who are saying, hold the phone here just a second. Let's check him out a little bit. Go ahead.
Well, I agree with you. Humility is something that we have to understand we need to have, regardless of how successful you are, because there's a lot of things that go on that help you have the success. And I think he's going to learn that. He's a young player, New York, obviously, big stage, fabulous football player.
Oh, yeah.
Little sample size so far.
Yeah.
But I think as this thing continues to go, defensively, when you hear things like this, the opponent, and obviously early in the season, you had saw some things where defenses were kind of getting after him a little bit, and he was kind of chirping back, say they're holding me, they're grabbing me. So he's found a way maybe to go back at them now. So I think at the end, you realize this, when you're a defensive player, you don't play with the ball. You don't play with the ball. So, you know, there's ways you can go about doing your business and settle this all down. And I think defensively, hey, you'll look at this and go, okay, we're playing them. This is how we're going to go about doing it, and we'll see where this thing goes.
Good point.
He is a fabulous player, but we'll see. We'll see going into this rest of the season and how this thing unfolds for him. Will he become a guy with humility? I don't mind a guy fueling himself and talking. That's part of it. I played corner my whole life. Guys are always yapping, you know, and you yap back at them. But there's a code of conduct that goes along with playing professional football.
Mr. Smith.
Well, I hear where both of y'all are coming from. I don't disagree with any points either of you made. They're accurate, but I think they're incomplete. And the reason I say that is because if you're any member of the Buffalo Bills or anybody else in the NFL, you should appreciate what you're seeing. And I'm not just talking about the talents of an Odell Beckham Jr. Coach, what I would surmise to you is, I think it's fantastic for the league. Skip, I'll also ask you to think about this. Why do you think you see players talking smack, celebrating in the end zone, trying to get the attention, fellas? It's because the NFL is very adroit at marketing its three-letter brand, but ignoring almost everyone else. Sure, the Tom Brady's of the world, the Peyton Mannings of the world, the Aaron Rodgers of the world will get the endorsement deals. And sure, you'll utilize these players to promote stuff for the NFL Network and for Direct TV and stuff like that. But when you see a particular player, he's young, he's brash, he's black, got a blonde hairdo for crying out loud, which ain't my style. Let me be very, very clear. Nevertheless, the stuff is still flocking in his direction. And what that says to me is that we're embracing everything. Certainly, Coach is right. There is a code of conduct that should always be exercised. There is definitely decorum that should always be employed. And I don't care what you're doing in life, some sense of humility must always accompany every single thing that you do. But I do believe it's also important to recognize that we don't need to diminish the skill set that guys engage in when it comes to marketing themselves. Odell Beckham Jr. isn't just a guy who's successful because he made one spectacular catch. He's a guy that all around can flat out ball and never hesitates to remind you that he can ball. Then he goes out on the field, and for the most part, because against Buffalo he was held to just 5 catches for 38 yards and no touchdowns. But he goes out there for the most part and reminds you of his potential greatness. So what he's done is he's taken his play and he's attached a personality to it, and it might be ruffling some feathers and rubbing people the wrong way. But in the end, it's not just what he's doing that's rubbing them the wrong way. It's the fact that he's getting noticed for it and marketed because of it. And as a result, instead of hating him for it or hating on him for it, I'm talking about the Bills here, instead of hating on him about it, appreciate it, learn from it, and learn how to capitalize on it for yourself. Because all of those things not just assist in elevating the brand, which is already #1, but it's showing and showcasing that there's room for other players to get in the mix from a marketing perspective who don't look like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers.
I like what you just said. I appreciate it. And that did open my eyes to one thing that just occurred to me. And just a quick point, I'll let you speak. But I have nothing but respect for Peyton Manning. But, Stephen A., to your point, there are some nights I'm watching my TV, different games, and I feel like every commercial has Peyton Manning in it. No disrespect to him, but it's like every commercial is another Peyton commercial. After a while, you say, wow.
Nationwide is on your side.
Yeah. So I get that. My only point about Odell is that he has to be careful about his emotions, his young emotions. They're still a little immature as he tries to figure out his place in this league. And you have to be careful to learn to channel them instead of letting them run away with you. That was my big takeaway.
Yeah, look, I don't have a problem with a guy building his brand when you're a great player and when you make plays. Yeah. And you play a game that a lot of receivers cannot play with your skill set. So I don't mind him doing that at all. What's puzzling to me is defensively, I mean, you worried about a wide receiver? I mean, to me, that's puzzling. I mean, I don't get that. I really don't. I mean,
well, I didn't take it that he was worried, Coach. He held him to 5 receptions for just 38 yards. He spoke after the game, not before it. I don't think he was worried. I think that the brashness and the attitude turned him off, and he spoke on it. That's what I got from it.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's correct, Stephen A., but as a defensive player, I mean, when you start giving an offensive player credit for saying, well, he hit me and he's not getting called for it, we can settle that. We can. You're right. Settled. That's settled between the lines.
Well, you're right about that, but I think that what he was saying is, I think that was just an excuse to highlight his belief that Odell Beckham Jr. is receiving the golden boy treatment.
Well,
and that's what it was. That's what it was about.
There's a lot of guys that get certain treatment now.
Yeah.
We can say that about a lot of quarterbacks. Some do and some don't.
And by the way, frame this with the fact that the Bills are by far the most penalized team in the National Football League, and they were in the course of getting 17 penalties, and so they're saying, well, what about them? You know, like, oh, they were getting away with.
By the way, Skip,
it was an ugly game on both sides.
By the way, Skip, Rex Ryan had better get his act together. I think the fact that they're the most penalized team speaks to the level of discipline that they lack, which is okay in most instances. But when it comes to Rex Ryan, that was what got him out of New York to some degree.
I know.
He needs to be careful about that.
Yeah, but he took no blame on Sunday anyway. Took a little bit on Monday, I guess.
Speaking of Sunday, according to our Dan Graziano, Beckham has been fined $9,000 for his actions in the Bills game. I'm sure that's going to hurt him. And through his first 16 games, he has the most receiving yards ever in the NFL.
He'll get a commercial to pay for that.
Yeah, petty cash. All right, in Atlanta, the Falcons are off to a perfect start to the season, but are they getting the credit they deserve? Herm is sticking around to answer that question after the break.